Most seasons in Torchlight Infinite, I get most of my gear together. As soon as I'm Timemark 7 viable, I just focus on speedrunning. That way I can build up a bunch of currency and comfortably transition into Timemark 8. But unfortunately, Season 8 is a bit different. As part of a progression of the game being rescaled, Timemark 7 is much less rewarding. To the point where, on the first day, I don't think I got a single Flame Elementium drop. Now luckily, they did buff Flame Elementium, and occasionally they do drop now, especially from seasonal mechanics, and especially if you've invested Void Talents into them, especially from Confusion cards, and unfortunately, especially if you have the seasonal pets. But now more than ever, the game is heavily incentivizing you to not stay in Timemark 7 and farm where it's comfortable, but instead push into Timemark 8 as soon as you possibly can. And so that's exactly what I did. It's been a bit of a struggle, I've died a few times, and now I'm going to talk about what I've been doing so far. As a note, this is far from min-maxed. I have not tested most seasonal mechanics. Do not take this as optimal money-making strategy most FE an hour. It is not that at all. This is just me talking about what I'm doing, sharing it with you because I've seen people asking, and because I myself was very unsure of if things were still profitable. So, right now, I have one set of Profound Star Talents, which is specifically the number of Confusion cards in the deck reaching 45 plus 5% drop quantity, and when the number reaches 55, another plus 5. Just basic drop quantity, because I didn't think my character was strong enough to actually complete most of the others in Timemark 8. I could probably do this one, but then I lose out on all of the star shards, which means that I don't get to progress and get more star talents, so for now, this is what I went with. Next up, I also went with Dark Surge, for two reasons. First, I noticed Embryon cores are relatively expensive. Second of all, going into Remorseful Dark Surge means I have a much higher chance to encounter a Confusion card that lets me farm bosses directly and get Edict drops. Which, after some of my recent farming, I did indeed get a couple of Edicts. And so, Edict Doom, right now, it's going for about 8-9 FE. Edict Ruin, it's going for about 6-7 FE. These aren't the super overinflated numbers we've seen in past seasons, but it is still a fair amount of profit. And hey, if your build's good, you can even run the boss keys. I did this a little bit with a Lawbearer, absolutely miserable fight. But you know what? I got something that sold for 50 FE, and I have something else up for like a couple hundred that may and may not sell, probably won't. Either way, it was definitely more than the 4 or 5 that I would have gotten just selling the Desire Core. Now, the next mechanic that I invested into, Clockwork Ballet. Haven't finished this year, I need a couple more star talents, and then I want to start experimenting with all of these, and trying to see what gets me the most loot. I don't know for sure, but one thing I have noticed thus far is these Confusion cards are very, very, very strong. So I suspect that the things that give Confusion cards are going to be the most powerful options for all of these mechanics. Then again, who knows? I could be totally wrong. I'm definitely going to have to test that in the future. For now, though, I'm more focused on getting enough currency that I can get the rest of my star talents, and after I get the star talents, then I'm going to focus on actually all-inning on strategies, trying to optimize them, going from there. The last thing is Twin Nightmare. This started as, oh hey, I need to do some dream interpretation, so I need to get the drops. And it's continued because, as it turns out, especially if you're going into the Nightmare Zone, this is pretty darn profitable. And again, coming into here, sorting this tab, Shallow Dream Talking Trinket, it's a couple FE. Each of these are quite valuable, given that if you get the card, this is just from one set of a Confusion card. Beyond that, I did try Mistville for a little bit. Ultimately, I don't think just dropping the eyes without compasses or anything like that is super, super worth it, but I might try running the eyes, see if Mistville itself is more profitable. I guess stay tuned for that, get subscribed, ring the notification bell, all that fun stuff. In addition, I highly recommend that you sell things you are not using. So here, I don't plan to respec, I am happy with how my build is currently. So, I'm going to go, and I'm going to list this item. 45, 9 FE, you know what, maybe we can make it 10, see if it sells for 0.22. That is another 10 FE that I wouldn't have if I just said, I might need it later. If you don't need it right now, and it is not something super rare and irreplaceable where the tax is going to murder you, get rid of it. That's what I've been doing. I sold some Winding Keys because I wasn't planning to respec. I have other sets that I can just use. Before I was running some Black Sale, I ended up getting a duplicate memory for what I wanted. Really, really strong, sold for like 20 FE. And because I'm farming now in Timemark 8, even though it's uncomfortable, I got this 161 int tier 1, sold for like 50 FE. A lot of my money has come from just selling random junk rather than FE drops on the floor. So as you're progressing the season, you need to treat things a little bit differently, at least right now. Maybe in the future, someone's going to crack the code, and you know what? If you have an awesome money-making strategy that works in Timemark 7, please share it down below. I'll do my best to see it, pin your comment, all that fun stuff. I might even make a follow-up video after trying it out. But basically, I treated Timemark 7 as SSF Plus, where I could buy a few things, I could spend a little bit of Flame Elementium, but I wasn't expecting to make any significant progress. It was just about getting and scrounging the little scraps together to actually make my character Timemark 8 viable. At this point, if I just run through a speed Timemark 7, it is much faster. A couple minutes for 7.2, like 1 minute for 7.0. But I rarely see any FE drops. In fact, what you're seeing right now with the Timemark 7 that ends up dropping a couple FE is I think the single most profitable Timemark 7.2 that I did from all of my testing. It really feels like the money is very much in Timemark 8. And unfortunately, this probably means that Profound Timemark 8 is going to be even more profitable. And Deep Space is going to be more profitable yet again. So, if you are not able to push into those higher Timemarks and farm them relatively easily, unfortunately, you are probably going to fall behind. But as more people try to push into them, and as more people try to farm them, I'm hoping the beacon price actually goes up. Because then you could speed farm Timemark 7 and sell the beacons to people who are farming Timemark 8 to get yourself Timemark 8 viable. Timemark 8, well, you can kind of do the same thing. Then in Profound 8, you could sell the Deep Space beacons to get yourself Deep Space viable. That is something that when I talked to Andre before the season started, he kind of laid out as their intent. Whether or not it's hit the mark, personally, I would say it hasn't, and right now the progression feels really bad because Timemark 7 feels like a waste of your time. On the other hand, even though my character somewhat struggles in Timemark 8, things don't die instantly, and I do have to watch what I'm standing in, otherwise I could get killed. I am able to make Flame Elementium. Almost every Timemark 8 beacon I run, I get at least a couple FE. Though, again, a lot of them are coming from those seasonal mechanics. Which is one other thing that I've observed. Many of the seasonal mechanics are very profitable, especially for ones that give you rewards directly. And honestly, this reminds me a lot of farming in Path of Exile, where things that give you guaranteed rewards, such as essences, such as delirium tiles, tend to be more profitable when loot is scarce, as opposed to just hoping that you drop good stuff on the floor. With that said, there's a couple more things I plan to do. One of which is, I kind of want to farm Eterna a bit. Haven't done it at all yet. Probably going to have to buy some mats to do it, which means I need actual amounts of money. But I'm going to see, because right now, soul candles can be very, very expensive, especially if you are selling to the beamers. Or channelers in general. Another thing I want to do, use all those Mistvale Resident Eyes, explore Mistvale a bit, maybe get some activation mediums. Frozen Canvas, I've done it a bit, but I haven't done it a ton, so I'd like to see if that's rewarding. And beyond all that, I want to start using some more compasses, because I think in Timemark 8 is the point where you should just spam all of your basic compasses. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It's not like you're going to be using them anyway. Just price check them before and make sure it's not anything that's ungodly in price. But you know what? If it's 1 FE or less, odds are you're going to add at least that much value to your beacon. And then save the ones that are more expensive and sell them to someone who's really going all in on the strategy and min-maxing. TLDR, if you aren't going to sell it, you might as well use it, especially for something like the Soldier Compass. It's not going to make things that much more difficult, and it is going to add a lot of mobs that could potentially drop something good. And that's something else that you should pay attention to, using or selling your resources. Now, something else that I'm considering is running the bosses. My character does enough damage that at least the tier 1 bosses are totally fine right now. It's going to take a couple minutes, which is basically what a tier 8 map would cost anyway. And in terms of a price, it's really not that bad. I've noticed that a lot of the keys are very low, probably because a lot of people's characters either can't take them on, or a lot of people find bossing boring, which, to be fair, bossing is very boring, and that's the reason why I might not do it. But it's also very cost efficient to the point where doing some of these, I'm not sure you can lose money. The only question is not losing money good enough when you could spend that time making more money elsewhere? If Timemark 8 is really slow and painful, and especially if you don't have pets that correspond to profitable seasonal mechanics, I'd say the answer is yes. Same thing goes for star shards, at least if you're able to get them cheaply enough. That's very much going to vary based on the level and also the region. But that said, this is very much early days. It wouldn't surprise me if XD ends up buffing loot yet again, especially in the lower time marks, because right now it does feel especially punishing. And if I find any cool strategies, I'm definitely going to share them. So get subscribed, ring that notification bell so you can see as soon as I upload. And hey, you made it to the end, you probably liked the video, so leave a like while you're down there. With that said, I'm curious. What have you been doing to make money in Torchlight Infinite in Season 8 Frozen Canvas? Let me know some of your strategies, especially the ones that have paid off, down in the comments below. And if you've been watching the gameplay, it's appealing to you, and you're like, yeah, but how does that mind control elapsed yoga work? Don't worry, I gotcha. I just made a season starter video. I'll link it up in the card down below. You can check it out. And so with that, thank you for watching to the end. I'm glad you've enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.